What issues were discussed in your session?
Well, this was a session addressing interactions between Orthodoxy and Ecumenism, rather generally, but there was a variety of perspectives which were positively complementary. We've had a more general theological analysis of the interaction between Orthodoxy and Ecumenism, focusing mainly on what the Orthodox understand Orthodoxy to be, particularly in relationship with the other Christians. But there was also, there were very important discussions on the interaction between the famous Orthodox theologian Vladimir Lossky and the Catholic ressourcement in France, and how they interacted with each other and informed each other. And we had an excellent contribution from a Protestant pastor from the Church of Scotland, but based in Brazil, so a very ecumenical perspective indeed, who presented an analysis of the contribution of the Special Commission on Orthodox Participation in the World Council of Churches from the perspective of a Protestant theologian, but focusing on the benefits that it brought to the ecumenical movement, to the Protestant churches. So that was a very useful and rare sort of insight. So what was really striking was how complementary all these perspectives were, forming a sort of overall view on Orthodoxy and Ecumenism, which indeed was the theme to be addressed in the session.
And how are these topics important today?
Well, they are important, all of them, perhaps less mine, but certainly, for instance, talking about Lossky and the way he was influenced by the Catholic ressourcement, and of course his own influence on the Catholic movement in the 30s, 40s. That is a very useful example for theologians today, to see how Orthodox theology can interact with other theologies, be informed by them, and indeed be challenged to come up with a purified, sort of focused description of our own Orthodox theology and ecclesiology and understanding of life. So that's, for instance, that's extremely useful, as is indeed useful the fact that there are actually tangible achievements following the participation of Orthodox churches within the ecumenical movement, in this case, in the case of the WCC. So that was particularly useful. And as far as my own paper is concerned, I was just trying to show a way from the point of view of theology, which would allow the Orthodox to approach ecumenical encounters more valiantly, perhaps, and more sort of positively, and understand how ecumenism is at the core of our own theology, the call to the Catholicity of the Church of Christ, and that's an essential aspect of theology. So all of these things, perhaps particularly taken together, point to a very sort of optimistic and constructive vision of the future of ecumenism and of the role that Orthodoxy can play in it.
And how can IOTA, as a network of scholars, move these discussions forward?
Well, we're all discovering these days how essential this sort of body is, and how essential this sort of encounter is. So there's no doubt that by bringing together so many Orthodox scholars from so many different contexts, but not only Orthodox scholars, of course, also scholars from other traditions in dialogue with the Orthodox scholars. Obviously, this will, I think it has the potential of opening up the Orthodox world to a wider sort of sphere that the Orthodox, although they often speak of Orthodox unity, spend often a lot of time not encountering each other. So this is a good opportunity for them to come together, discuss, share views, and indeed, if they can share these views with Christians from outside the Orthodox Church, that's another gain. So there are only positives from this wonderful initiative, and of course, as like any other participant, I'm assuming that I'm hoping that there will be a sequel to this event, just as grand as this event has been so far.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.